हुआ था।
बुलाओ जी बुलाओ।
वो FM वाले आए थे।
बस 5 मिनट्स के 4 लोग हैं तो 30 मिनट्स आइए नाउ कम
बैठिए।
बैठिए। So you are which city are you from?
So I am from Jaipur.
अच्छा, तो हरियाणा का कैसे आपने सोचा करने को ये HCS?
सर मैंने इनिशियली UPSC की प्रिपरेशन शुरू करी थी और लास्ट ईयर मेंस क्लियर नहीं हुआ था, तो मुझे लगा कि कोई और फील्ड अगर या कोई और सर्विस या प्लेटफॉर्म नियर बाय स्टेट या नियर बाय लोकेलिटी जहाँ का कल्चर मैं समझता हूँ या की बोली समझ में आती है वहाँ पर मैं भर सकता हूँ। इस फील्ड में हरियाणा का फॉर्म इसमें था तो मैंने अप्लाई किया।
आप हिंदी में कंफर्टेबल है इंग्लिश में?
बोथ।
तो जयपुर is one of the best cities in India. Tell us what you like about Jaipur.
So the people of Jaipur.
And what is good about them?
Sir, from my particular experiences, they are kind-hearted, they are honest, and they practice integrity, and most importantly, sir, they value culture, and they are very traditional also.
And you studied in school in Jaipur?
So, sir, I completed my schooling in Atray.
And college?
College from Delhi, sir, Anthropology University.
From Delhi. How was the experience in Delhi? Tell us the difference that you faced, culture difference from Ajmer, Jaipur to Delhi.
So the culture difference between Ajmer and Jaipur was not very much because both of them are 2200 kilometers apart. But coming to Delhi, the food culture was quite different. First of all, the people of Delhi, they are quite straightforward in their blockings, and I particularly thought that the congestion that Delhi faces, the pollution, that was very uncomfortable for me the 4 years that I stayed.
4 years you studied engineering. Which branch?
So mechanical engineering.
So were you always inclined towards civil services, or you thought that you'll have a career in the private sector?
Sir, I think I was always inclined towards civil services. After my matric class, 10th class, I thought about doing the civil services. I needed a graduation platform, and I was interested in maths background, so I pursued engineering.
Give us an overview of the civil services in India since independence, or even before.
So before the independence, the context of civil services was quite different as compared to what it is now. In that aspect, the civil servants were often called the Maibabs of the particular locality. They had huge amount of power in their hand, huge amount of discretion in their hands. Initially, they were established by Lord Cornwallis, and post-independence, their powers were restricted. And one major change in the power structure was seen after the CRPC 1973, where much of the judicial power that they had was taken away from them. And as they correctly said, as the steel frame of the Indian administration services, their major work is concerned with the implementation of the government schemes while in their initial phases of their work, and later on when they get promoted to the secretarial posts, they are moreover involved in policy formulations. So that is how they work.
From ICS to IAS, and then the journey of IAS as a service. What are your views on it?
So the view is that the work culture, the mindset of civil servants are changing quite rapidly. If we take an example of the mission Karmayogi that the government is promoting, the government is trying to create capacity building on the basis of moral backgrounds, how they are responsive, how they are working on the grassroots level. The government, with the help of the information technology, is trying to observe and check upon the day-to-day work culture of the civil servants, and that is bringing more and more accountability and transparency in the work culture, which was not there when it was called the ICS.
Accountability and transparency is one thing, but what about independent thinking and being able to work without monitoring? You are a civil servant. So what is, supposing you are a civil servant, what is your perspective on it?
So the diversity of freedom is obviously there, and not only the perspective of thinking but also the perspective of doing diverse things. Because a civil servant on one part can be a district collector, the SDM, where he will have to take care of all the day-to-day functioning of the district. On the other hand, he will also work as the chairman of the Nagar Nigams. And if we see the regulatory bodies, the major regulatory bodies of India, like SIDBI, even the RBI governor is a former IAS officer. So So we can see that the diversity is not only thinking but also the work is there. And apart from that, the monetary perspective has to be there, sir. Because without regulations, the power can go out of control. So that has to be there.
What is a typical day like for a DM or collector or deputy commissioner, do you think? Have you been to a DC office ever?
So, sir.
What do you think he or she will do, let's say from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.?
So one of my friends' father was a district collector when I was in college. So I had a conversation with him once, and from what I understood was his work culture was very hectic. So even though the office timings were say from 9 to 5, but sometimes he had to stay till 8 p.m. also. And people from different sectors, from different communities, from different areas used to come to him, and he had to solve day-to-day issues. For example, if one of the person is constructing a house and he breaks the sewage line of the person adjoining to him, then the very first thing that he has to do is that he has to report at the district collector. So what grievance redressal can be done about that. Apart from that, sir, he also told me about the mandis that the district collector has to see. For example, if there is an abrupt change in pricing of any of the commodity in mandi, so that report gets to the SDM, and if he finds that there is something wrong in it, he could arrange a meeting with other professionals, and he can. So this all comes under the essential commodities act. So if he feels that prices increasing,
We don't go into more details of that, but mandi part of it. Then what else?
so apart from that, day-to-day implementation of the government schemes, the monitoring report have to be submitted to the secretariat. He told me about that, and so I'm not able to recall anything else, but we had a quite good conversation on that.
Coming to Haryana, so do you think that this perception that political interference is more in Haryana than, let's say, a state like Rajasthan is true, and why, and what have you heard about it?
So I think that the political interference is there in the working of the civil services, but since we can see that that in the last few decades the era of digitalization has increased, so that has brought a major change in the working of the civil services. The reports that they now have to send is time bounded. It is all in electronic formats. Many of the time, I also see that the raids, for example, that IRS officers have to conduct. So they are allotted the number randomly, and many times the reports or the inquiries that they have to conduct, that is done on an online basis without even seeing the face of the other person. So that is bringing more and more transparency.
So Haryana, you have no particular viewpoint on it.
As such, I haven't lived in Haryana. I have done only 2 months of internship in Vector Corporation. Apart from that, I am not particularly aware about the ground working of Haryana.
What do you think the difference in the society's thinking in Rajasthan and Haryana could be at the ground level?
Not a lot of differences are there, but can I take a second? So first is the case of the Khar Panchayats that are very famous in Haryana, rather in the context of news, but very famous. Second, sir, the nature of women that is being perceived in the thoughts of local Haryana, or what is being told in the media. And third is commonalities, apart from that, is the religious perceptions maybe. For example, the temples in Rajasthan, the local Devi-Devtas there and the local Devi-Devtas here are quite different.
The state civil service vis-a-vis the Indian civil services, IAS, IPS, what are the differences and what do you think can be done to improve the level at which state civil services operate, as per your perception?
So state civil servants are more grounded, and they have to work as a better force at the grassroots level in order to improve their working. First of all, capacity building measures like the government is taking is to be performed deliberately. And second, sensitization of the task force, be it at the police level or at the administrative level or the excise or taxation level. How they are interacting with the people, they shouldn't be arrogant, they shouldn't be thinking that they have all the powers and authorities in them. And so apart from that, the traits of selflessness are most important in the civil services.
Okay, one more question I have. So, civil servants and social media, what are your views on that? How much should a personality of a civil service officer come out on social media? There are very famous, popular civil servants today, whether IAS or IPS or whatever. What should be the balance and limitation that should be there, self-imposed or otherwise? You understand the question? Okay.
So I think the importance of social media is there in the lives of civil servants also. But there has to be restrictions, most importantly because the civil servants are not directly responsible to the people. They are not the representatives of the people. They are mainly under the they mainly work under the governance structure of the state or the country. So what they can do with the help of social media is to promote popular ideas, the government schemes, take up the major issues. For example, if election is coming up, they can post promote voting, and apart from that, restrictions should be there so that they should not promote a particular political agenda, because otherwise disciplinary actions can be taken. Restrictions have to be there.
And lastly, how can they become role models for society, whether through social media or otherwise? Should they be role models for society? Should there be a certain amount of fame, popularity for civil servants so that young people are inspired to emulate the good ones?
So can I take an example? So when I was in 10th class, there was a show called Jagpreet on Doordarshan that I was watching. So in that show, they showed a civil servant of Rajasthan, Dr. Ishan Sharma. So he pursued his MBBS and later joined the IAS services. So what he did was, he promoted generic medicines and made Rajasthan the first state in the country that provides free medicines. And now his work has been recognized in the United Nations as well. So platforms like this actually should be promoted. People like this should be promoted because it shows the potential, the diversity and the opportunity that civil servants can do for the welfare of the people. And there should not be any limits, because not everyone who wants to do social service can become a politician. Not everyone who wants to do social service has enough money, but many of them are eager enough. They have their merits and skills. Civil services provides a very good platform to them.
Have you heard of Singh Rajawat? Who is she?
So I'm not sure, I'm not able to recollect, but I think she was a civil servant. She's a civil servant.
Sarpanch.
Good evening, Ishan. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Tell me, you are an engineer. You are an engineer. Engineering is a very exciting field. You have already invested 4 years of your time, effort, your money and the government money. Now you tell me that India at the cusp of becoming a developed nation. Lot of things are happening in India today. India needs good engineers also. Why should we be going to civil service?
My working and my knowledge from the field of engineering was very vast. I learned quite a lot in my college days. But what I felt during my internship was that if I work like in any corporation that I work, I will never be able to become anything more than a very good mechanical engineer.
So that is very good, and you become the top-notch mechanical engineer of India. You heard of Sridharan? So,
but sir, there was, since my matriculation days, I wanted to serve to the people. I wanted to.
so that is no reason. My father wanted me to become a civil servant. I also wanted to become a civil servant.
Sir, can I say the same example of Dr. Singh? Because when I saw that show, I learned quite a lot from him. That
Okay, your choice. I will not go more into this. Now, what I want to understand is that as an engineer, analysis is the forte of engineer. As an engineer, how will you be able to do your job as a civil servant better than others?
Sir, can I take the example of one of the projects that I did in my
Okay.
career?
Right.
So with my HOD, sir, I was involved with a team of 5 in a project that was trying to somehow decipher how the Israeli mechanism of drip irrigation and water recycling can be incorporated in India itself. Unfortunately, in the 4th year when we were trying to execute the project, Corona lockdown was initiated and we couldn't complete it. But apart from that, sir, the knowledge of engineering that I have, it could be helpful as a civil servant for me in the technical aspects, when tenders would be allocated, in giving the technical advices to power plants, let's say hydroelectric projects.
On that there are technocrats. There is a separate,
So I I believe that technocrats can be the future of bureaucracy.
Okay. Now, please tell me, there is one organization at Pune, the Automotive Design Institute of India, the ultimate in designing automotive vehicle in India. Have you heard of it? What do they do?
No, so actually my preference in mechanical engineering was first of all power plants.
Power plants, let's talk about power plants. You tell me that if you have to design a all-weather, all-terrain vehicle, all-weather, all-terrain vehicle you have to design, what are the factors you will take into account and how the power to weight ratio will be set?
So vehicle is an automobile or a power plant?
Automobile.
All weather?
All-terrain, terrain,
Terrain means type of ground, type of surface.
Can you just repeat once more?
you have to design an all-weather, all-terrain, all type of land, whether it is high altitude or it is snow, jungles, lower area, deserts. If you have to design one, then what are the factors you will take into account and what is the power to weight ratio, how will you decide that?
So first of all, I will have to analyze for what purposes the vehicle is being designed. Whether it is
That is not, you've been given that this is, you need a vehicle for say army
Yes.
and you need and you are given the speed. There are certain qualitative requirements, you've been given that.
Yes.
Now you are required to design. What are the factors you will take?
So in terms of making it all weather and operating on its own for a very long time, I prefer the hybrid technology that is in the market right now. Since one IC engine has to be there, so I will prefer the diesel engine because it can generate
What is the difference between IC and CA engine basic? IC and CA?
combustion engine. So
Internal combustion and compression engine. You will not heard of
so
CA?
that is a diesel engine. I understand.
Diesel engine. Which is better, more efficient?
So the IC engine is more efficient.
Why?
So because it has a sparkler that can produce that can ignite the
No, but it doesn't work in high altitude where the air is rarefied. There it will not work.
So in general conditions, sir, we can see that the petrol vehicles give a better mileage.
Mileage, who bother about mileage? Mileage is not one of the factors which are. Anyway, now there is a great man from Rajasthan, from Jaipur as a matter of fact, one of the villages of Jaipur. There was a photograph of his granddaughter and two granddaughters who have joined army. Paramveer Chakra from Jaipur. Great man, 1962. Heard of him?
I'm sorry, sir. I can't recall.
You read the newspaper today?
No, sir. I just reached Panchkula today only, so I didn't have enough time. But I will read the
No more that. That was Major Shaitan Singh. His two granddaughters have joined army. Both of them, one is lieutenant, one is captain. Both of them are there. And he was in Paramveer Chakra, one of the greatest battles of 1962. No more about that. Thank you.
Okay, can you name the Ramsar sites in Haryana?
So Sultanpur Ramsar site and Vindhyawas Ramsar.
Can you name the districts as well? Where are they located?
So Sultanpur is in Gurgaon and Vindhyawas is in Jaipur.
Okay, which is the state bird of Haryana?
So black people.
Okay, and any bird which is critically endangered which happens to be conserved in Haryana state?
So one is the vultures and second is the great eagle.
Which site it has been conserved in Haryana? So that's a national important.
For vultures. So I'm not sure, but I think Hisar.
No, yes.
Indore.
Okay, out of honesty and integrity, which trait is more important?
So I think integrity.
Why integrity?
Because honesty is more important, but integrity as a whole includes honesty as well. Integrity means adhering to your moral principles and not compromising with them under any situations. Honesty, on the other hand, tells you only tell the truth under all the circumstances.
Can you mention an incident where you were honest?
So I'm honest right now.
Out of sympathy and empathy, which one is more important to you as a person?
Sir, empathy. Because in empathy, we try to put ourselves in the shoes of the other person, and in sympathy only we try to feel what he's going through.
Can you mention one incident where you were empathetic?
So I can't recall any
difference between empathy and compassion.
So empathy, as I said, is to feel what the other person is feeling by putting yourself in their place. And so compassion is the inner feeling that you have to do something for the others.
Oh, yeah, that.
For oneself,
Yeah,
for one who is suffering.
Okay, Haryana experimented with minimal education qualification at local level. So do you think that should be criteria for national level as well? There should be minimal education qualification to contest the elections?
I think yes, sir. Because can I take 1 or 2 seconds here? So I think that would be the case because I feel that the people who are fighting these elections or contesting these elections, they are over the age of 30-40 years, and it is not possible for them to enroll in the education institutions and complete their education. But what they do have is a lot of experience, a lot of interaction with the locals, so they know the problems. But a minimum education qualification is.
Suppose you are a head of panel which has to recommend reforms. What would be the minimal if you would recommend? Should it be graduation or some matric, or according to you should be the?
So completing the schooling is quite enough. For this, from an age grade point of view, I would say that if this is a threshold year, before this who have won, they should have completed 12th, and after this, those who have won, they should have completed graduation year.
And Haryana is also having a problem called Sarpanch Pati. Can you just highlight what exactly is Sarpanch Pati?
So the Panchayati Raj Institution Act states that 1/3 of the seat should be reserved for women. In Haryana, it is 50%. But even after that, when the woman gets elected as a sarpanch, it is not she who leads the panchayat, but it is her husband who leads the ward members. So he is informally called as the panchayat.
So Ishan, tell me how much kilometer border Haryana and Rajasthan share?
So I'm not aware of that.
Okay. So tell me any government policy that recently caught your attention.
So today only I was revising the budget of Haryana government, and I saw the Sh.Vivek skill.
You can tell of central government also.
Central government, sir, PM Kusum Yojana.
What is that?
So in PM Kusum Yojana, the union government is trying to subsidize the solar panels for the farmers so that they can use it in place of the diesel motors for irrigating their farm fields.
What is the difference between PM Ujala scheme and PM Ujjwala scheme?
So PM Ujjwala scheme majorly aims at providing subsidized gas cylinders to women, mainly the rural women of India. And PM Ujjwala scheme provides LED bulbs for cost efficiency and energy efficiency.
What is your take on UCC?
So I believe there is a strong requirement for UCC to be implemented right now, and it has already been emphasized enough by the Supreme Court in the Shah 1 as well as Shaira 1 case, and the recent implementation in Uttarakhand was a positive step in that.
Prior to Uttarakhand, which state have that UCC?
So no such UCC was implemented as such after independence, but Goa had a UCC because it had a Portugal government since 1960.
Okay. So tell me, you might have heard about the elections, right? The elections are going on. How Prime Minister is elected? The election of Prime Minister, is it direct or indirect?
So the election of Prime Minister is indirect. The member of
Are you
Parliament. Yes, sir.
The election of Prime Minister is
Yes, sir.
direct.
Indirect, sir.
Indirect.
Indirect.
Thank you.
I think we close the interview and we give some feedback.